This week in Jamaica Now.
I miss time catch up after 5 days time, they say no something right. And then I start feeling my belly back and pain me know something right.
Shock and condemnation as a 9-year-old girl is brutally murdered in Hanover. New discoveries in the SSL fraud probe, the FBI's role has intensified. A new road traffic law is now in effect. And Jamaica signals its willingness to send police and soldiers to help Haiti restore peace. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. There continues to be shock and condemnation over this week's brutal murder of 9-year-old Nikita Jo Jo Noel, whose body was found in Q District, Lucy, Hanover on Wednesday night. Nikita was allegedly raped and strangled. A 42-year-old man has been arrested and placed in protective custody. The police reported that the man was in a relationship with the girl's mother. Nikita was reported missing on Wednesday by her mother after she did not return home from her school, Esher Primary. Nikita's mother, Nordia Edwards, says her daughter was a happy and loving child.
It's a nice, loving person, trophy. Nikita, my daughter never pick the yard. When she goes to school, straight home. When he drop her off, she comes straight home. So I kind of find it funny. I miss the time catch up after 5 days time, then I say no something right. And then I start feeling my belly back and pain me know something right.
Now residents of Q District have been upset at the police for arresting the man. Education Minister Favour Williams said the brutal assault and murder of Nikita is a sad reflection of callous barbarity that characterizes elements of our society. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has expressed outrage, saying the horrifying murder is a shock to our collective conscience and can only be described as evil. The government says the law requiring public transport operators to equip their vehicles with appropriate child restraint systems is to be reviewed. The review is to take place at the next meeting of the National Road Safety Council set for February 9. As a result, the head of the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Division, Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary McKenzie, says the police will exercise their discretion when dealing with public passenger vehicles. In a series of Twitter posts on Thursday, Information Minister Robert Morgan said the government took note of concerns regarding the provision in the new Road Traffic Act, which came into effect on Wednesday. He said the provision was first incorporated in the law in 2001 under the then People's National Party administration. He did not say why it was retained when the new law was pursued by the Holness administration. Meanwhile, Opposition Leader Mark Golding accepted that legislators failed to appreciate the impact of the provision when the law was approved in 2018.
We legislators clearly overlooked the impact of Section 73(1) and the definition of child in the new Road Traffic Act 2018 when it was passed. Those provisions should have had an exclusion so that the child seat requirement does not apply to public passenger vehicles. And in our context in Jamaica, it is wholly impractical to require taximen and buses to provide baby seats and child seats for children under 12, which is what the law as written now requires. The enforcement of this provision is going to cause no end of problems for the transportation of children in Jamaica. And the police should desist from enforcing this rule in relation to public passenger vehicles until the law is amended.
Now, under the new law, motorists will incur a $5,000 fine if they are caught transporting a child in a vehicle without a restraint system. Taxi operators have called for the regulation governing the child restraint seats in public passenger vehicles to be reviewed. Meanwhile, Transport Minister Audley Shaw has reminded Jamaicans that the new road traffic law introduces new offences and higher fines for previously existing offences. Motorists risk paying a fine of $10,000 if they are caught holding a cell phone while driving.
Motorcycle drivers are limited to carrying one passenger, driving on one wheel. What we call wheelie is prohibited, and all motorcycles must be sold with a helmet. A motorcycle learner must be accompanied by a licensed driver on another motorcycle within 6 meters and must not carry a pillion at any time or operate for commercial purposes. driving instructors and driving schools will have to be certified and licensed by the ITA. The effective date of this requirement is proposed to be January 1, 2024, which will allow for a reasonable time to allow the instructors to undergo an approved training program. Development of the National Vehicle Register. The National Vehicle Register will now include all vehicles, whether operated on public roads or not. However, vehicles used off-road will not need to be registered unless the owner wishes to get a title.
Opposition spokesman on transport, Michael Phillips, has accused the government of being sloppy in implementing the new law.
I have seen better campaigns, public education campaigns, gone behind NIDS, the HOPE project, even BOJ and inflation. I have seen public education campaign that more have been spent on. But if it is that the Minister of Information and the government feels that they have done enough, we on this side don't think that enough public education has been done in sensitizing the country and road users on the new Road Traffic Act.
The role of the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, in the probe of the alleged billion-dollar fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, has intensified because of new discoveries. That's according to Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark, who has declined to speak on what additional findings have been unearthed in the saga that is now in its third week. And Jamaica's Financial Investigations Division, FID, which is leading the probe, says the public will get an update shortly. FID's Chief Technical Director, Selvin Hay, told Nationwide News Network this week that the authorities are encouraged by what they have been unraveling in the fraud that he said stretches back at least a decade. And external auditors who did work for SSL are expected to face more scrutiny from investigators. The government has questioned how the alleged theft of funds from clients could have escaped auditors over the last 13 years. Dr. Clark has argued that the regulator, the Financial Services Commission, relies on external audits. He says if those reports do not flag certain issues, the Commission would not be able to take certain steps. Meanwhile, the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, has published documents that contradict a claim by SSL's directors that they were not seeking to wind up the company when they appointed a trustee days after the fraud scandal became public on January 12. In a statement late Tuesday, SSL's bosses argued that it was their intention to have their powers and authority vested in a trustee and that the affairs of SSL would be under that person's control. But according to the released documents, 3 of SSL's 4 directors wrote to the company's Office of Jamaica, noting that they had formed the opinion that SSL could pay its debt within a period of 12 months from the commencement of the winding up. A former National Commercial Bank NCB wealth advisor, Khadene Thomas, was offered bail in the sum of $5 million this week, arising from a multimillion-dollar fraud at the financial institution. The amount reportedly stolen has risen to over $43 million. The 35-year-old, who was an advisor at the St. Anne's Bay NCB branch, was implicated in the matter following the alleged transfer of $5 million from a customer's account. A new complainant is reported to have been identified. Ms. Thomas was charged with larceny, uttering forged documents, forgery and breaches of the Cybercrimes Act. 2 additional charges of uttering false documents and larceny as a servant have been laid against the accused. Meanwhile, the hunt is on for a group of criminals who allegedly stole an automated teller machine ATM from Jamison's service station in Darliston, Westmoreland on Thursday. The damaged machine was subsequently found on the grounds of the Darliston Great House on Thursday afternoon. However, the more than $8 million which was believed to be in it at the time it was stolen was not recovered. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has signalled that Jamaica's security forces could be part of a regional delegation to support efforts by CARICOM to stabilize gang-ravaged Haiti.
The government of Jamaica, and indeed the people of Jamaica, even with our own challenges and concerns, are deeply concerned about the humanitarian and security crisis being experienced by our Caribbean neighbor and sister nation, Haiti. The people of Haiti continue to have their human rights threatened by powerful gangs and militias which perpetrate heinous crimes, including killings, kidnappings, and acts of violence against women and children. These have escalated with the recent murders of policemen. Jamaica, through a joint CARICOM statement, strongly condemned the recent round of violence in Haiti.
Opposition leader Mark Golding endorsed Jamaica's efforts.
Clearly, it is in Jamaica's interest that Haiti be restored to a functional democratic system of governance, and that the security within Haiti and of its borders be put on a footing where criminal elements, organized and disorganized, do not hold sway. The thought of a further deterioration of the security situation in Haiti and the further empowerment of criminal gangs and criminal organizations in Haiti, and what that might mean for the potential impact of that on us here in Jamaica, given that there is already established the guns for drugs trade and other related nefarious activities of that nature, is an alarming prospect for us. Therefore, I would endorse Jamaica participating in any effort which is established in accordance with international law and with the concurrence of the Haitian people or the Haitian government representing the people.
And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on the notification, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, more from Nordia Edwards on the murder of her 9-year-old daughter, Nikita Jo Jo Noel.
She leave home 10 minutes after 7.
And what time was she expected to be back home?
4:30. That's
And
the latest she ever come.
okay, so when did you realize or thought something had happened?
Because I don't see her come home, so I call the driver, because normally she reach home already. So I call the driver. When I call the driver said, "Been drop her off long time." So I kind of find that strange. So I come on the road, me and my mama will start look, and I go down by the driver yard. And I ask the rest of the kids, and they say yes. Because Joanna just lick up on my hand and said, "Tomorrow." So I say, "No, something funny." So I come and I ask one lady down the road, "You see Joanna pass?" She said, "No, nobody see Joanna pass." And I kind of find that very suspicious for nobody see Joanna pass. So I come back up, put on the clothes because I was very dirty. She said, "I got the station." And I leave and go to the station. My mother then I search and so. So when we come around with the police now and showing them the tracks where she would travel from to go home, go back down the road to speak with the driver. Then I hear that a little boy and her come up. So we're coming back up now to speak to the little boy. Then I hear loud screaming. So when we come up here, see her.